Hi, everybody. Welcome to your everyday math lesson for lesson 6.4. So today's lesson is in your everyday math workbook. We're going to be in student journal number 2, volume 2, page number 205. And what we're going to work with today is something called a line plot. Excuse me. So a line plot is something that we use when we're trying to look at a data set. So if I ask you certain questions and you answer a certain way, I then can look at your answers and see different things, right? So we can measure your height and see who's the tallest and who's the shortest, what the average height is, right? We can also do that with a lot of other kinds of data, favorite foods, lengths of something, weights. You can do that with all kinds of information, right? So what we are going to do today is we're going to do a line plot. So it's called a line plot because it's a line. It's like a number line, right? So what I did is I actually asked a couple of the teachers, I pulled a couple kids from each of the classrooms, and I measured their pencil. Pencils are normally, they start at about this long, right? And you sharpen them and use them. So we have a lot of different sizes. So I have quite a few little data pieces here. So I'm going to show you. I just wrote them down as they came to see me. So I have a whole bunch of them here. So we are going to actually use this form right here on page 205 to document the data. If you were here in person, we would do this in person. Unfortunately, you guys are at home. Many of you might write things down, but you probably use a pencil or mechanical pencil or a pen. So it's a little more difficult because does a pen change its length? No, not really, right? So that's why it's just easier just to use their pencils for now. But this can be used for a lot of different things, okay? So right now we're going to be looking again on page 205. And when we're looking at a data set, you first, when you're making a graph or a chart, need to have a title. So I know that I explained to you we're going to be doing the lengths of pencils. So what would a good title be for this? What do you think? What would a good title be? I mean, pencil length. That's what I'm going to use. When you're coming up with a title for your graph, you need to find something that really describes in a quick snapshot what the graph is showing, right? So if I were measuring height, I would put that here. If I were measuring temperature outside, I would put that here. So whatever you're measuring, that's your title, okay? Also, notice that my number line has no numbers on it. Why? Well, you gotta make the number chart. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this chart, and you're going to label your chart on your paper, and we're going to make sure that we label it from 2 inches to 7.5 inches. Now, when I wanted them to measure, I said to the nearest 1/4 inch. Okay, nearest 1/4 inch. So this is going to be measured in inches. Nearest 1/4 of an inch. Okay. I'm going to start all the way at this line right here. And I said, I'm going to start with about 2. So this is 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, 3. So I'm going to really pay attention to, here's my 2, here's my 3. Here's 3 1/2. Here would be 4. 4 1/2. 5. 5 1/2. 6. And it kind of looks like a ruler. You know how on a ruler the lines are a little taller, right? 6 1/2. 7. 7 1/2. 8. 8 1/2. All right. Now, we are going to put the data on the graph. Now, the reason why I started with 2 is because I don't have a pencil smaller than 2. So I know that that definitely needs to be on here. If I did have a pencil that was like 1 inch long, I would tell them to throw it away. But I also would need to make my number smaller in order to put it on my graph, right? So here we go. as I read a number off, we're going to put an X on the graph, and then the paper gets moved to the side because we've already used it. Sometimes they're not going to give you a whole stack of papers on a test, or if you're working in the classroom, they're going to give you a list, okay? If they do that, the way I do it is I find this number, mark it out. Do this number, mark it out. So find a way that makes sure that you don't skip numbers and that you write every number, all right? So I'm going to put my little stack right here, and as soon as I mark it, I'm going to move it off to the side so I know it's done. So my first pencil was 5 inches. I'm going to put an X. 4 1/2. All right, 4, this is 4 1/2. I'm going to put an X. 6. 5 3/4. All right. Here's 5. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Right here. 4. 6 1/4. 7 1/2. 5 1/4. 5 1/4. 4 3/4. Okay, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. 3 1/4. A lot of different sizes of pencils. 2 1/2. Oh, that one was little. I did throw them. I told him to throw it away, and I gave him a new one, by the way. 4 1/2. Okay. Now, notice what I just did. 2 data points on the same number. I now put the X above it. Okay. Great. 5 1/4. 5 1/4. Here we go. 5 1/4. Ooh. 5 1/4. 5. 4 3/4. 4 1/2. 6 1/2. 5 1/2. 7. 6 1/2. 3 and 5. That's a lot of X's. It's a lot of X's. So on this page in your math workbook, I want you to pause and I want you to make sure that you're being very, very meticulous about where you're putting your X's. Make sure you number your number line, have a label and a title and a label, like a way to show your answer down here, how you're showing it, inches, right? And then I also want you to start putting your X's where they go. I'm going to pause the video here. I want you to make sure your X's are where they need to be and then hit continue, okay? All right, so we have our title, we have our label, and you have your X's where they go. Now, there should be 24, so I'm going to count my X's to make sure I have 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Perfect. So there are 24 students that I asked, 24 pencil lengths. All right. Now we can use the information to answer a question. Questions. What is the largest value in the data set? Well, the one that is the biggest was 7 1/2. What is the smallest value in the data set? Looking at this picture, what was the smallest value in this data set? Well, the smallest value is 2 1/2. It says a good number for me for the line plot to begin with is what? So my line plot started with a 2 because it's a little bit smaller, but it's right where it needs to be. It's a little bit smaller and it would include all line spots, right? A good number to end with. Definitely I could end with 8 or 8.5. So I would put 8 here. Okay. We measured the pencil to the nearest 1/4 of an inch. So we should label the number line with 1/4 inches. So basically this part down here helps you figure out how to make your line plot. Now, I did it a little backwards. I kind of told you these things and made the plot for you, but this explains my reasoning behind it, okay? We are going to do one more line plot. So I'm going to turn to the next page. We're going to be on page 206. On page 206. Woo. All right, so here we go. Now we're going to actually measure class height. So again, unfortunately, you guys are at home. So what's going to happen is I'm going to use the information from my class that I had last year. Okay. When you come to my live, we will do another version of this together. It won't necessarily be height, but it will be something that you can measure. And we will do that together. Okay, guys? So on here, we're going to do class height data. So my label should be my title should be class height. All right, my label. So when I measured my students last year, we measured to the nearest 1/2 inch. So my label down here is to the nearest inch. Or we're going to measure it in inches. Inches. I have my data from last year right here. Last year, my shortest student was still shorter than me, so it makes me feel better because I'm always the shortest. But they were 56.5 inches. They're a little over 4'8". The largest person, so I'm right in the middle, I'm short, I know that. The tallest person in my class, again, this is inches, right? So when you ask me how tall I am, I say I'm 5'2", equals about 62 inches. The tallest person in my class was about 5'9". So they were about 69.5 inches tall. All right. So the smallest value in the data set, I'm sorry. I read this wrong. That goes in the wrong spot. The smallest value in the data set was 56.5. Now I told you I'm 5'1.25", 5'1.5". So I'm going to put 61.5. How did I find 61.5 inches? If I told you I was 5'1.5", how did I find 61.5 inches? Well, the way I figured that out is I did 5 times 12, because it's 5 foot. 5 times 12 is 60. And then I added that 1.5 inches, 61.5. All right. A good number for the line plot to begin with, maybe we go 56. Because my lowest is 56.5. Right? And that's where I would start. A good number for my line plot to end with, 69.5. Maybe we make it go all the way to 70, at least. Right? We measured each student to the nearest 1/2 inch, so we should label the numbers to the nearest 1/2 inch. All right, 56, 56.5, 57, 58, 59. I'm going to pause the video. I want you to finish labeling this number line. Now, I finished labeling my number line, and it ended up right at 69.5. So it's a good thing my student wasn't taller. It's a perfect little line to stop with. Awesome. So now I have to put my data in. And this is where it's going to get tricky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the screen a list of all of the heights, and I want you to try to put the data on the data chart. I will pause it so you can do that, okay? All right, so these were the heights of the students that I had last year. I do want you to pause and try to do the data on your chart. I will be doing the data with you when you get done hitting continue, but I want you to try to do it on your own first. Okay, so here we go. Literally, I'm going to just move it kind of right here so I can see my numbers. And as I mark it, I'm going to cross it out on my chart. So I'm going to look at one number at a time. 56 and a half. 58. 56 and a half. 59. 61. See how I'm doing it and what my process is? 62 and a half. 67. 59 and a half. 58. I'm sorry, 68. That's why you have to triple check, guys. 59 and a half. 69 and a half. Wow. 62 and a half. 65 and a half. 65 and a half. All right, one half done. That's half of my class. Here we go. 62 and a half. 64. 66. 65 and a half. 64. All right, those are done. Let's go down to the bottom. 58. Ooh. 60. 63 and a half. 62. 64. 59 and a half. Okay, 59 and a half. 61 and a half. They matched me, or that was me. 67 and a half. And 59 and a half. Okay. Now, with this data that we have, I can find a lot of information. I can tell you what's the shortest height in my class. I could tell you the tallest height. I could tell you the difference between the two. I could tell you the height that was the most common. I could also tell you a few heights that we never even reached. Like there are some that kids aren't even that high, right? So there's a lot of questions that I now can answer with this graph. And that's what we're going to do. So looking at page 207, that's where we are right now. It says use your line plot about student height data to solve the following problems. How many students are included in your data set? Well, there were 28. The most common height represented. Okay, which one happened the most? Okay, well, this one has 4 people. And that's the most. So 59 and a half. Okay. Done. How many students in your class are 55 or more inches tall? All of them. All of them. I had quite a few taller kids last year. What is the difference? What is the difference between the largest height measurement and the smallest height measurement in inches? Okay. Well, my largest was 69 and 1/2. And my smallest was 56 and 1/2. So I need to subtract to find the difference, right? What is the difference between 69 and 1/2 and 56 and 1/2? What's my difference? So the difference between the two, if I actually subtract, 9 minus 6 is 3, 1/2 minus 1/2 is 0, 6 minus 5 is 1. So it's about 13 inches different. So we had a kid that was about a foot taller than the other kids. It's pretty normal. Explain how you did this problem. I subtracted the largest height minus the smallest height. All right, this is where it gets tricky. What is the total combined height of all the students in your class? Basically, what this question is telling you to do, and it tells you in number 6, is you're going to imagine that all the kids lie down. And they're going to be where my head ends, somebody else's foot stops, right? So like this would be a person, head, feet. This would be a person, this would be a person, all lined up, right? Starting at home plate, so this is the next little part of it. So we're going to do this one in a minute. But basically, it's the same idea. So you're imagining they're all lying down, head to head, head to feet, right? All right. How are we going to do this problem? Well, you're going to add again. But it's going to be super tricky because what you're going to do is you're going to add up all of these numbers. And you're going to get a very large number. So we are going to do that during our Zoom. So make sure that you're there for our lesson today. So this will be covered in the Zoom. All right. After you do this one, you can then answer 6. So both of these I will cover with you. Okay. That is going to be the end of that little part. Now we're going to look at the ones that are already done. So look at page 208. Notice there are charts that you're going to be using for tomorrow's lesson. Okay. If you have a chance to do these little questions before you come to Zoom, that's fine. Just make sure you really triple check your adding and making sure that you have all data points put in that answer. Okay. I hope you have a great day. I know it was a long lesson today, a lot of information, a lot of X's. Do your best and ask questions if you need, and I will see you at the Zoom. By the way, there is a keyword in my little, there is a little message right here that I want you to remember, okay? If I look back at my first part of my lesson, what was the shortest pencil size? Answer that question and have a great day.